From the Standing Stone Farm Studio right outside downtown Nashville, it's time for the most ridiculous sports podcast in the world. So sit back, relax, and listen as Bobby Butler and Brandon Bond crack open a cold one and talk all things hockey, pop culture, and complain about everyday situations. It's the Pucks Out Podcast on the Penalty Box Radio Network.
Welcome into another episode of the Pucks Out Podcast. I'm Bobby Butler. He's Brandon Bond.
Heyo.
You can find us on the three majors of social media at Pucks Out Pod. Now let's crack open this cold beer and let's get after it.
We got us a nice little assortment. It was basically what was left in Brandon's fridge.
Yeah. Don't forget, you can find us on What a Maneuver to get all the apparel you need. Find us on Patreon to see all the behind-the-scenes content. And go subscribe on YouTube and hit that bell to find out when all the new content on videos coming out. And we do want to say happy Juneteenth to everyone out there, or otherwise known as Freedom Day. But how are you doing this week, bud?
Doing pretty good, man. We just got done with your birthday party this weekend. I have put on all of my quarantine weight back. I had to have had like 45 pounds of lobster and crab, so...
And strawberry shortcake.
Yeah, I was
lots of beer.
I was not going to mention the strawberry shortcake because I had an amount that I am not pleased to... say that I have. See, the problem is your mom bought all those little individual cups, and so it doesn't feel like you're eating a lot. But when you have like 8 of them, it becomes a lot. So, but yeah, just working, man. Just getting through the week, getting ready for your mom's move coming up. AKA your mom's moving, but Brandon's getting a new studio. It's essentially what I'm excited for. What about you, buddy? Anything good?
Oh man, just finally get over the hangover from my birthday. That was haven't been that shit-faced in a long time.
You're such
college.
You're such a punk, dude. I came back on Sunday after we got back Saturday night and worked for 3.5 hours. So it was rough. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that I didn't struggle through all 3.5 hours of that work that I did. So,
all right. So let's move into some news and notes from around hockey. The NHL Phase 3 begins July 10th as of now, and pretty much that means full training camps. Don't know, haven't heard yet about players from overseas or in Europe, what their situation is going to be, but obviously that's a pretty big deal if you can't have any, Finnish or Swedish players.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. I'm looking forward to kind of see what happens with that. Obviously, you want everybody to be there, but I'd more like to determine how it's going to affect me and my team. And if it's positively, then you know what? They need to stay, and they're, you can't be risking international travel. But if it's going to be, bad for us overall, then obviously we got to find a way around this.
So what you're saying is you only like immigrants if it's good for you.
Yeah. I mean, that sums it up pretty well, Bobby. Thank you so much for saying that. I mean, I'm going to make a soundbite out of that. All right. So what do we? What else we got on the old list, man?
Not much in the hockey world other than that, with coronavirus. But outside the NHL, we got some news. The MLB and the MLB Players Association still cannot find ground on the prorated salaries deal.
Of course they can't because it's baseball.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's come out. I think Manfred said that it's not 100% that there's going to be a season.
Yeah, I mean, he would. Honestly, if there's one person that it would be great for that there was no baseball this season, it would be Manfred. Because what he's hoping is by next season's roll around, people will have forgotten that he absolutely allowed a team that admitted to cheating to continue to hold their World Series title. So baseball, as usual, coming in completely horribly. We've talked about this before, but baseball is like literally a sport where you don't even have to have any contact with anybody. So that is amazingly amazing that they can't find anything, but not surprising at all. I'm very frustrated with baseball because, again, I'll watch some baseball playoffs, but I'm not going to watch the baseball regular season. But I'll tell you right now, if baseball regular season was on, I'd be watching it like a hawk, man. Yeah. I'm telling you.
We do have some breaking news real quick from NHL. The Buffalo Sabres have fired general manager Jason Botterill, and I'm looking to see who they hired on.
They didn't make the playoffs in a 24-team format. Okay. What kind of grade did we give the guy? Because, I mean, this is really going to be determinant on us.
I mean, it had to be like we can go back.
I'll go back and look while you try to find out who they've hired, if they have. I would imagine they probably haven't hired yet.
Kevin Adams.
Kevin Adams. Pretty generic name. I'm not sure about it.
Well, it's not spelled generic. Kevin is spelled Kevyn.
Ooh, throwing a Y in there. Yeah. So that's not, obviously that's better than the generic name that I thought. I guess it was probably episode 20, huh? Let me go in and take a look and see.
But while you do that, we'll go back to the outside. It came out that Zeke had or has COVID-19, one of the Dallas Cowboys players to have it. So once again, we're seeing more and more of these players come out who have it, but yet they're not doing anything as far as, we're just going to keep training camp the same. At some point, if they just start training camps in this news, I mean, how many players have not had it? How many players who probably don't have the best ironclad contracts have not come out and said they have it for risk of maybe being told not to report?
And you know how I felt about it. I think they should just give it to all of them. And, the survival of the fittest type of deal, and then seclude them on an island. And they all play games throughout the week on this one island. But some news to the news that you just brought up, the breaking news. We gave him a D-. So I don't want to say that the Sabres listen to the pod.
That's what we're saying.
But I can't say that they're not listening to it. I mean, they obviously, we're 3 episodes past this, and boom, their GM's fired. That D-. That really, I think that solidified it. They were already thinking about it based off of everything that we said throughout our discussion of the Sabres.
And in fact, they wanted to do it the week before our episode, but I had a phone call with them, told them, hey, let us kind of...
We're about to drop the tent, and then that way we can get it out to everybody, all your Buffalo fans that are definitely listening to us. Yeah. And so that'll kind of like ease the blow. They're like, oh, Bobby and Brandon throwing them a D-. This doesn't bode well for him for the future. Yeah. So you're welcome, Sabres fans.
But all right, so this week we are talking about best tradition in sports.
What a great topic to talk about. We kind of did some top 5.
But here's the thing, we could talk hours about this. When we were making our list, we were like, we could just do this all day.
We have an extended list of honorable mentions.
Which I think is longer than our actual top 5 that we kind of did. Yeah.
We should have just done like a top 50 each. Yeah. And then we probably still wouldn't have had enough room and had to throw some honorable mentions on there. But why don't you start us off with your number 5, man? What did you have? All right,
so this is a tradition that started in the 1940s. It's hats on the ice for a hat trick. The little origin quick about that is in Toronto, a haberdasher, which is, by the way, an awesome word. Always love that word.
I mean, sweet word.
Yeah. He gave out free hats to players who scored 3 goals. And so it started happening. People just start throwing hats on the ice.
Yeah, there we go. And unfortunately, now you have to give up your hat. There's really no way to give out hats to everybody every single time that there's a potential hat trick. So, but obviously one of the most well-known traditions in sports, one of my favorite all-time commercials was an NHL commercial. And it's as terrible as this is how good the commercial was. It's this Blackhawks fan that's at the game with his dad, and his dad buys him a hat. Okay. And so then the story progresses through his whole life. He's at work wearing the hat. He's, going places wearing the hat, and it's ratty and it's beat up. And it's a Patrick Kane hat trick, and, the announcer, and Patrick Kane gets the hat trick. And the guy takes his hat off that he's held since he was a kid that his dad gave him, and he's looking at it, and it's all ratty and beat up. And it was not even a question at all. He tosses it on the ice, and it was just one of those cool things that, everybody wants to toss a hat on the ice for a hat trick. I've done it. Yeah. Have you got to do it before, Bobby? Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Victor Arvidsson. And the worst part was, I will remember that game forever. And it was a 7-4 loss for the Preds. But it was amazing. You know, it was just a cool experience to be a part of. We've been a part of a lot of hat tricks, but depending on where you are, sometimes you're not going to be able to toss your hat on the ice. And so I think a couple of the ones that we've been at, we've been behind nets.
Yeah, that's where my season tickets are, so that's usually where we are.
And so thank goodness, because, you know my opinion. Don't wear a hat to a game if you have access to throw it on the ice, if you ain't willing to throw it on the ice. You know, you got to carry yourself a hat trick hat. Okay, so my number 5, and this is not... you're not a fan, but to me, it's one of the coolest thing in sports because it's not really recognizable early in the game, but throughout the game, everybody's aware that this is happening. And that's not talking to the pitcher when they're throwing a no-hitter. You know, you just don't talk to them. And some pitchers don't like that. They want people to talk to them. Some are very, very old school and want you to stay away and don't say anything to me. But it's very funny to watch the pitchers that don't like that try to go up and talk to people, and people just like he's got coronavirus are away from that guy, you know. I just think it's a super cool and odd tradition that in sports that, especially with how superstitious baseball is, will probably never die unless Manfred kills it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like superstition. I'm cool with like some people having like superstitions, whatever, each their own. Don't like it like when it creeps into tradition. Like, at what point does the no hitter really, like, if he just goes 3 up, 3 down in the first, is that now a no hitter and you can't talk to him?
I think that I think there's a pretty established rule. I think if you hit 5th inning and he's still no hitting,
because that also seems like a hassle. Like if the coach needs to be like, "Hey, man," and he's like, "No, you can't talk to me."
And I'm not super sure if it's I don't think it's the coach as well, but I think it's like a more of a avoidance of talk the play. Because, I mean, at this point, who wants to be the guy that talks to the pitcher and he messes up that next inning? Because baseball is so superstitious, a no-hitter is one of the most impressive feats in sports to me. Almost as impressive, maybe a little bit more impressive than actually getting a hit in baseball, which is amazingly impressive. Hand-eye skill coordination that it takes to do that is ridiculous, and these guys are doing it at a 30% clip throughout the year. Yeah. But to also not let a guy get a hit for the entire game is amazing to me. So the no hitter plus what it actually represents, that had to make my top 5. So what do you got at number 4, buddy?
Man, as a Notre Dame fan, I could not put this on there, and that's the Notre Dame play like a champ sign. You know, whether it was in Rudy or just every, game day. Every
high school that's ever played football also now does the play like a champ. I mean, that's the depth of this tradition to the point where...
And what's crazy is you would think like this tradition started in like the 40s. It started in like the 80s under Coach Holtz, who literally saw the sign in a magazine.
Dr. Lou.
And he saw it in a magazine and said he couldn't find it, so he just asked somebody to paint it. And luckily, what's awesome is the person who painted it she was smart enough to keep the copyright to it and the trademark.
That was super smart of her.
Everything that anything sells with Play Like a Champion, she makes money on.
Anytime that she just is like running a little low on funds, she just runs and finds a local high school. Says, "Let me see your field house, buddy." That's obviously a really good one, to the point where it's hard. A lot of people have no idea that it's a Notre Dame tradition. That's how deeply entrenched into sports it is.
I will say, though, I do hate it. And one of my high schools was this way, where they overdo it on the things you have to tap. My high school, there was 8 things you had to tap on the way out of the locker room.
What you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to tap this bench. You're gonna want to tap your locker, tap this keg. Obviously you lose the meaning if you just tap. Look, we don't know. We won a game. We tapped a bunch of stuff the other day. just tap it off.
And the way it was, like, you walk out of the locker room, and it's, like, not like a straight line. It became like a snake.
Yeah.
So you've got, like, 40 guys and a little snake, like, going around the room, like, touching, like, each year they won the state. Every logo.
Go ahead and tap the cash register to get the guy back his money for his hot dog. You know, like, yeah, exactly. That's where traditions go from being traditions to just being a burden. And it's not like, I don't even get why we're doing this type of deal. If you keep it simple, you do this thing, we've always done it. It's cool. It's a cool tradition. But when you start building on the traditions, it's more, come on, man. We're coming from the 80s here. All right. Awesome. So my number 4 is one that is, again, the 80s. Apparently, sports traditions were born in the 80s. The Gatorade bath, dude. You know, what a cool thing. And they've really switched to water. I personally would never have became a head coach when, you know, their Gatorade color is red. First of all, that's way too sticky. And I'm going to need a shower immediately. So I'm glad they've kind of switched to the water, but really just the dumping of the liquid onto the coach's head. And it's even, you know, sometimes they expect it, but it's always better when they don't. You know, they just catch it, and they catch a headset full of, you know, Gatorade. They got yellow Gatorade in their ears for days. They're never going to get out. That actually started with the 80s and the New York Giants. So what a cool tradition that's obviously kind of carried across multiple levels of sports now.
Yeah. I think one of the funniest things I've always seen is when, like, players, like, spill it before they get to the coach.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see, like, two kickers, like a punter and a kicker trying to pick it up, and they just, like, spill it the other way, and they're just like, there's none left.
Or the coach sees it coming and, like, avoids it.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, I feel you. Like, it's just, you know, we've won. That's what I was here for.
I've seen Coach O do that a lot, where he, like, looks back and he just starts sprinting ahead.
He said, "I'm sorry, if you got a Gatorade," like, I'm like, "Whoa, buddy, I'm not gonna dump this on you because I'm not sure if you threatened me or not." Okay, what do you got at number 3, man? I really like your number 3.
I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to leave it to you, but just Auburn War Eagle. What an awesome tradition. We'll talk about it in a little bit because you've got it on your list.
Yeah, it made it up there. It was it was on there. Yeah. Number 3, you went with the hockey, the hat tricks. My number 3 is the playoff beard that kind of started in the 80s. And for those of you that don't know what the playoff beard is, essentially when your team hits the playoffs, no more shaving. So I think this year we're going to have some pretty fierce playoff beards because the playoffs were announced so much earlier than the actual playoff. So I'm wondering if they will be keeping up with tradition and nobody's been shaving. I would
according
imagine
to our
so.
polls on Twitter and Instagram, the answer is yes. It's like 83% of our fans said yes, playoff beard starts.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start the playoff beard. So playoff beard, obviously a great choice and pretty fitting for what we'd like to talk about and what will be coming up. What is your number 2? I actually like this one a lot too, buddy. This was a good call.
The Lambeau Leap.
Yeah.
Which, when I actually did some research, I didn't realize that it only started in 93.
Yeah.
Reggie White picked up a fumble, recovered it, lateraled it, Leroy Butler ran it in, and did the first Lambeau Leap. And it's just so solid, man.
Yeah, well, and it's, again, one of those that have, like, transcended. Like, it's called the Lambeau Leap, so most sports fans knows what it is, but there are people that do it across all teams now. And so Lambeau Leap, obviously we are only picking old traditions that didn't start very early.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 2 is Clemson's entrance. I love Clemson's entrance where they get in the bus and they drive around campus and they're rocking the bus, and then they come in, they touch the rock, and then they wait at the top of the hill and actually come in through the stadium down the hill to the field. And I've actually driven on Clemson's campus before, and they call it Auburn with a lake because it's got a lake, and the guy that designed Auburn designed Clemson. But dude, it's just the way it is. You drive by the football stadium and you're like level with it, and you can see down into it. And so what a cool tradition. college football in itself is just so entrenched in tradition that we could have done a whole episode on just college football traditions. And hey, I'm not ruling it out because I won't say no to it. But yeah, so Clemson's entrance, really cool to me. Really love the college football tradition. You guys have heard me say before, college football is my favorite sport. And it's about the name on the front of the jersey when you're playing college football, not the name on the back of the jersey. And so that's why some of those traditions just get so entrenched in that university. So Clemson's entrance is my number 2. You have your number 1 coming up.
Yeah. Are you ready for some football?
Bum, 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 bum.
Man, growing up, you knew it was Monday. It made Mondays a little bit better when Hank would come on the screen and get you ready for some football. They took
I'm
him
ready right now, buddy. I'm going to tell you.
I've got goosebumps now.
I'm going to tell you.
I'm ready for a Redskins-Dallas game on Monday night. But
I'm ready for some good football, though.
But yeah, so they took him off, I think, in like 2012. They brought him back in 2017, and I think that was a great call. For a while, they had, was it Carrie Underwood, or they had somebody.
When it wasn't Hank Williams, I didn't care.
Yeah.
That was pretty much my feeling of it. You know, like, I feel you. Like, you know, he's getting older. Dude, it's just like 4 words, you know? Yeah, obviously, man. I mean, I mean, Monday Night Football in itself could be on the list because it's such a cool tradition that, like, really came around. Like, it was one of the few games that were nationally broadcast that everybody could watch and see this game. And so when ESPN really started that, you know, Mondays are no longer the worst day of the week because at least you get Monday Night Football out of it. And so, yeah, I mean, hard to argue with that. Obviously, my number 1, Auburn's War Eagle. And for those of you that don't know, buckle in. I'm about to give you a little short story. Basically, what it is right before the kickoff, they will release an eagle, and it flies around the entire stadium while the fans are, you know, they got their shakers or whatever you got in your hand. You say, "Whoa, Eagle." And when they land, that's when you're saying Eagle. And so you do it for the kickoffs, and you do it for you do it for the eagle flying around. But it actually dates back and going back to the 90s again. However, we're going to the 1890s. And so this is a storied tradition. Auburn, first time Auburn met Georgia. And you'll if you're a fan of college football, you'll know that Auburn versus Georgia is the Deep South's oldest rivalry. There's been very few years that they've not met. I think some war years they didn't meet and stuff like that. But, and so the first game, a eagle centers around a spectator who is a veteran of the Civil War, and stands with him that day. And the eagle was the old soldier that had found on a battlefield during the war. And so it landed in the middle of the field, and they called it the War Eagle, and tradition is stuck. You always know a real Auburn fan. If you say War Eagle to somebody, they know you're an Auburn fan. You don't say Go Auburn. You say War Eagle. And they reply War Dam or War Eagle or WDE or whatever. But if they say, you know, oh, okay, yeah. I'm not a guy that's saying you're not a real fan. I'm just saying you don't necessarily know the traditions of Auburn. So War Eagle, besides the fact that it's so cool, you're in there in Jordan-Hare with 88,000, 90,000 people, with especially nowadays with that 50-yard Jumbotron, which is awesome, but it's also, you just watch the Jumbotron the whole time because you're closer than you would be if the person was standing next to you. But we both got a bunch of honorable mentions, and I figured we're not going to really go back and forth on this. Let's just bring up some of our honorable mentions that we can talk about, man.
So my first one is Nick from LSU. For those of you that don't know, go look it up on YouTube. It's pretty much Suck That Tiger Dick Bitch, and the band gets behind it. It's so fun to listen to. I want to experience it one day. The one LSU game I went to, which was Notre Dame versus LSU at, I guess at the time it was LP Field maybe, for the Music City Bowl.
Mhm.
They didn't do it,
Yeah.
which they had, but it's dope.
Yeah, that's a great one. Since we're talking college football, and I know that we probably got a lot of fans that will agree with us. You're not as much of a fan of this particular tradition, but UT's Power Tee is awesome to me, and it's more of a when you're at the game, seeing it with 107,000 of your closest friends. It's pretty entrenching. It's very goosebumpy, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, to kind of see that band come up and form the tee, and then the Vols run through it. So I really enjoy the Power Tee. But you were speaking of LSU, and so I guess I'm going to stick with some college football. The LSU bow to the defense, and when they make a turnover or make a great play, the fans will on each row switch back and forth bowing, and just watching it is so awesome to see all them bowing in unison like that. So that was one. I don't really know if it's a tradition of theirs, but it was at least something that they've been doing for a while that I've really enjoyed. So I wanted to toss it on my honorable mention list.
That's dope. So next I've got hockey handshakes, man. Especially it's usually after playoff wins, sometimes after like winter classics and stuff. Winners and losers will shake hands. And I've never been big on like, you know, they always like, I hated in high school they made you like, they forced you to shake hands with the other team. Like I think that's silly.
I got into altercation one time in our handshake line.
Yeah.
That punk shouldn't have stolen my jacket, though. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it here. There's another time and place. Although, when I have a microphone and it's recording, isn't this the time and place? But go ahead.
So, but I think it's great after a 7-game series, or it's usually maybe a 5-game series. I think it's cool to see because you see a lot of so much emotion goes into that game.
Yeah.
That it's good to see them just say, all right, at the end of the day, this is a job. We're getting paid to do this.
Just breathe it out, like win or lose. Like this was such a battle. Yeah, I know. I completely agree. So another one of mine, cutting down the net. What a cool tradition in basketball. Started in the 1920s, and so it's continued to this day. And pretty much every level of sports that we would watch, any type of big championship, you're going to see somebody cutting down the net. And then they prominently display it wherever they put their championship trophy or whatever. So I think that's a cool one that obviously is not a top 5 tradition in sports, but it's definitely one that you got to mention, right?
Yeah. Harry Carey, one of the great announcers in baseball. One of the few things about baseball that, like, I understand, like, that is a tradition.
Holy... Is that him?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, one day the Cubs will be in the World Series or in the World Series. I mean, every baseball player, every baseball fan knows him, even if you're barely a baseball fan.
Mm-hmm.
You know the legendary status that Harry Carey had.
Yeah, absolutely. What a probably not a tradition since, you know, he was just himself.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying as far as across sports lines. What a great figure in sports, and not only baseball, but all of sports. Rushing the field. I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
And I really love how like leagues are fining teams for doing it. Like, look, man, we're going to fine you $50,000 for letting your fans rush the field. It's like, you do know we got like $1 billion endowment that we just like chill with every year. Like, I go and Scrooge McDuck swim in this, and it's nothing but just like receipt books of all the money that people have given. So rushing the field is cool when it's done appropriately and people are making sure that people are not getting hurt. That's really why they started fining people. But it's funny, and a lot of teams will do this now, especially at big games at Auburn. Normally they just have the yellow security people kind of around the field. Well, at Auburn, at least, they'll bring in like a literal wall of yellow security guards that just stand like side by side all the way around Auburn Stadium to like make sure you don't rush the field.
Which is wild because all it would take, I mean, first off, they have the high ground. There are so many of them. Like, that is a tidal wave of drunk college kids.
They're not prequel fans, is the thing.
Like, if they really wanted to rush the field, like, it would take, each one could maybe take down one person, and then they're just getting trampled.
Easy. Well, you can tell the games that, like, Auburn, Alabama games, it doesn't happen as, I mean, they're just like, look, man, $15, $15 an hour is not worth me catching. This dude definitely has a bottle of Jack Daniels in his pants that he will use as a weapon to get on this field. So that's a super cool thing. You got us another one?
Yeah, I got 3 more. I got Seminole Chop from FSU. Not the biggest FSU fan, but man, it's so badass.
Yeah, dude. When it's like, again, it's just more of one of those goosebumpy things that happens.
When you see the entire crowd doing it, and for some reason, it does lose a lot of power when the Chiefs do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, because
I think it's because it's pro sports and like those kind of things. Like, listen, I love pro sports more than college sports.
Yeah.
However, those kind of things, like when you like the wave or like anything like chants like that at pro football, it just doesn't hold the same because there's never as many people doing it.
Never a fan of the wave. Right. I mean,
the wave is dumb. No matter where you do it.
We'll talk about the wave.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think the difference also is like, there's a big difference in having a game on a Saturday as opposed to a Sunday, where most people have spent hundreds upon hundreds of dollars on these tickets and, thousands across the entirety of the season. And they got to go to work tomorrow and they want to enjoy themselves. Or, I mean, you make it on Saturday and you get bigger stadiums and you get college kids that are there and go to that university, and a lot of alumni that have ties to that university. It doesn't matter how much you love the Redskins. It's a lot different than being a Redskins fan than it is cheering on your alma mater or the college that you've loved since you were a little kid, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, they can just really, really get into it. I completely agree with that. Drinking milk after winning the Indy 500. Milk was a bad choice, obviously.
They should do champagne before the race.
Yeah. Well, Lewis Meyer, and I don't know if it's Louis or Lewis, but we're gonna go with Lewis because he's driving cars. 1936 this started, and that was more just his thing. Like, he just enjoyed himself a good glass of buttermilk, on a hot day to refresh. It's like, Lewis.
He actually carried it in the car so it was nice and warm.
If he was driving today, it would be in one of those hydration packs. Obviously just like more of a weird tradition that just I felt like needed to be brought up. And I mean, having gone to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, talk about some traditions. What a fun event. I've told you a couple times, you got to go back. We need to go to it because it was just so much fun across the whole weekend. Concerts, and you can bring your own beer in, and depending on where you're sitting, we were sitting right in front of the pits. So we got videos of just cars having to slow down and come in. And it was awesome. Dude.
And here's the thing, like, me, I've never been a big NASCAR fan. However, after the recent updates they made to the sport recently, they've earned my patronage. I will 100%. I will cut up some jeans into shorts, go on a wife beater, and I will be there.
Let me say though, there is even if you're not a fan of the sport, you are a fan of spectacles like myself, and so going to a race, it is completely different than watching it on TV.
Yeah, I'm totally down to rent an RV, sit in the middle there, and just watch it.
Oh yeah, I want to spend a week tailgating the Talladega. When we get a little bit of money, when this podcast takes off, and we start doing our NASCAR segment. I think it would be so much fun to just tailgate. It's Bonnaroo for rednecks, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm in for, So yeah, obviously that's a great idea. Yeah, you got a couple more for us, I think?
Yeah. I'm going to actually move the one I was going to the end because I think it's the best one. Mm-hmm. But heckling Mike Milbury. Every single fan in hockey, I've seen Ducks fans, Blackhawks fans that I will fight all day and night with on social media. We all have one thing in common: our hatred for Mike Milbury.
Find the common ground.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, we can all hate Mike Milbury because he's terrible. And, and it's to the point now, it doesn't even matter if he's praising your team. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear that. And
I mean, after the Preds lost in the Stanley Cup, they got like nationwide praise because the guy who was just the drunk guy yelling at Mike Milbury in the stand saying, "Get the F out of Nashville, you hack." It was great.
I actually have 3 more. One I'm going to kind of brief by just as one that we probably need to mention. Not touching the Stanley Cup until you've actually won the Stanley Cup. That is a cool, odd, strange tradition to me. But it's one of the few sports where, like, when you win it, your name's on it for an extended period of time. And so that's actually really cool to me. So, like, the fact that an NHL player will never touch the Stanley Cup is dope. I'll touch it because I'm not planning on winning it. You know, I'm not trying to curse myself or anything like that.
10 years from now, after another great war and we're on the team and they're like, well, guys, why didn't we win? Did one of you assholes touch it 10 years ago?
I'll say, yes, that was me. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I had no idea that that 95% of the population was going to be wiped out and pro hockey was going to be left up to me. So that's a good one. I'm going to go ahead and do one more.
Well, I picked another one to even us out.
Cool. There you go. So go ahead.
A tradition unlike any other, the Masters.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's cheating to pick an entire event, but yeah, I mean, and I would if we were to narrow it down though, I would go between either, I think, Jim Nantz just bringing you into the Masters or the green jacket itself.
I would go Jim Nantz.
And I mean, obviously Jim Nantz is, but he's eventually going to die. No offense to anybody. I'm so sorry to say that to you guys, but the green jacket will live on. But it's such a weird thing. We're going to Futurama.
It'll just be Jim Nantz in a head in a bowl.
That would be perfect, and that would make yours correct then. But the green jacket, because it's so
Welcome
weird.
Welcome into the 2166 Masters.
The green jacket reminds me of the time we did a recruiting event at Putt Putt, and so I actually, to go to Putt Putt, I brought my golf bag with my wedge and my putter, and had one of the guys carried around for me in caddy. But I also went to Goodwill and bought a green jacket for it, you know. Yeah. So we called it the Mini Masters, obviously. But yeah, the green jacket is so weird because in any other setting ever, you're like, I'm gonna get a green jacket. What, are you going to a Christmas party, buddy? But like, you see a green jacket now and you're like, did that dude win the Masters? That's dope. Yeah. You know, if you win the Masters multiple times, I think I would make one my everyday coat. Because
I just found our group Halloween costume to New Orleans. Just
winning the we just picked different Masters.
Two Masters winners and our caddies.
Oh, yeah, no, they're not going to like that. But yeah. I mean, I'm totally interested in it.
It's going to get turned around and we're going to be the caddies.
Exactly. We got to feel it out. We got to tell them caddies get to wear dope things.
Yeah.
Okay, so my other one, College Game Day, Lee Corso putting on the mascot head, and like, as much as, you know, I don't want to see Lee Corso put on my team's mascot head, because obviously there is no real rhyme or reason to it. But
what is his winning percentage? Do we know?
I don't know, and I don't care. But usually, whenever he picks my team, we lose. So, but yeah, I mean, I would imagine it's great because he picked the
67%.
Yeah, but to be fair, for like, there was a time period of like 4 or 5 years where the Oregon Ducks were just like in College Game Day, like every day. They got him playing like Tulsa, and he's picking the Oregon Ducks. Okay, but no, it's such a cool tradition, and it's such a great way to bring in Saturday morning. And used to, it started at 9, and then they realized how much people loved it. And so like, I'll literally wake up at 6:30 and watch all of College Game Day before watching football that day. So, Lee Corso, you win it, dog. will you win an honorable mention?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no trophy here. So,
Yeah.
your
all right,
last
so
one.
yeah, I had no, I got 2 more, I thought, right? Because you had 3 more.
Maybe.
So that is a chance at Premier League games.
Yeah.
Dude, they are so dope. And I love it when I used to play FIFA and they would have the chance in the game. That's how I learned the most of my chance. And, obviously I'm a Manchester United guy. They've got some dope ass chants up there.
Everton for life, baby. Go Toffees.
But then my final one, my favorite one, fantasy football draft day.
Yeah.
Like what a great, like you wake up, especially either the first draft of the year or the last draft.
Yeah.
They're both just so much fun.
Yeah.
And I love it when like you have a full day of drafts. So you got like 8 drafts in a day. You've done all your paperwork. You got all your paperwork and highlighters laid out. I've got
You seem like in the eyes of your significant other, you seem like this guy's got his life together.
Yeah.
No, I'm about to spend all day drinking about 15 beers, eating hot wings, and picking guys for my fantasy world.
That'll roster bait too for 2 weeks, then realize in week 2, oh, this is a horrible decision.
This is terrible. Why didn't I pick? And then you start questioning yourself,
Yeah.
like, oh, I had this guy. I had a chance to get this 4-string running back.
But I do love the period
round.
between the draft and the first week. Because you're just like every morning you get up,
every day.
Yeah.
You're looking
you're
at
doing
it,
a stinker
man.
tinker, and you're just
looking at it, dude.
You're like I don't see how I can't go undefeated.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm gonna go
This is
undefeated
the
in every
year.
league.
This is the year. And it's funny because this is our first year of rookie drafts for Dynasty League. Completely different feeling, because like this actually matters. I can't get really drunk while doing this because like this decision will affect my life for a long time. And again, we understand that this doesn't really affect our life, but like if you care about fantasy as much as we do, this will affect my life.
All for someone to throw a wrench in it, like the second pick.
Yeah, exactly. But a regular redraft day, super fun. We've had a couple of live in-person drafts, and they're fun.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that you really have to acquire an additional person that knows about football so they can put
and it's
the
always
picks on
annoying
the
when there's always
board.
that one guy on speakerphone who's like, so can someone just tell me the board who's been picked?
Yeah, no, we cannot. You should have come down from Ohio, Kyle. Okay. Yeah, you brought up some memories there. So my final one, and I'm not sure that we can technically classify it as a sports tradition, but I'm classifying it. The Remember the Titans warm up. You know what I'm saying?
Dope.
I mean, this is something that, as you said earlier to me, Titans fans have been trying to reenact on the bridge going across the bridge to the stadium since it came out, and like still haven't figured it out type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, just so cool. Just, everywhere you go. And, you just hear it, dude. And, oh, yeah. So I felt like I had to throw that one in there. Denzel, you're my man, dude. And if you don't cry while watching Remember the Titans, I'm questioning you, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Gary Bertier? He died. He died for you. And then his mom shakes Julius's hand because she sees the error of her ways. Like, I mean, I'm getting teared up just thinking about
Can't
it,
you see? We're brothers.
Oh, can't you see, Alice? Can't you see, Alice? We're brother. And then, you got Hayden Panettiere in the background, or Hayden Panettiere's older version of herself through that movie, speaking in the background. And at the very last line, you always remember the Titans. All right, so we're going to take it from the most serious thing that we've talked about all day to Joke of the Week.
Joke
Bobby,
of the Week.
you found this one,
I
Bobby.
found this one.
I'm not taking cred.
It's absolutely insane.
It's ridiculous.
Geronimo. Idaho drops beavers with parachutes from airplanes. And this isn't some weird, and it's not from The Onion.
No.
But
we saw videos of it.
Yeah. So back in the 1950s, Idaho had a population boom after the war. But here's the thing, Idaho has like a massive amount of beavers.
They went from Idaho.
And not like the local strip club, but like the actual animal, the beaver.
Idaho went from like 75 people to like 450 people, like real quick.
Yeah. So, but they realized, they're like, well, I want to build here, but there's beavers here. Should I build over there? No. We're going to build here. Yeah. So, and instead of being like, well, should we move the beavers naturally? I don't know, man. We still got a bunch of planes and parachutes from the war.
You know what? The U.S. government wasn't able to get the Beaver Black Ops team ready in time. But we got these leftover shoots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's drop them in.
And we got a bunch of beavers who just hate Nazis and they're not ready to acclimate to regular day life.
We got to get them out of Idaho. Well, at least a little portion out where the 17 people are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really would have liked to have been in the meeting where somebody's like, how are we going to move these guys? Somebody's just like, I've got it.
Yeah. Don't listen to Dave about putting on just some heavy gloves to deal with the claws in a van.
Yeah. Should we transport them in a truck? Dave, are you kidding me? What a stupid idea. We're obviously going to parachute them into their new habitat.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, hey, get to it. Like, the beaver's like, are you freaking kidding me? You've moved me. In this instance, he's like, this beaver was living in like New York City. And he's like, dropped off in Idaho. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I built a metropolis for myself. You're like, what the hell? Like, that's my whole life's work. So I would imagine there was like a rise in beaver depression. After that, they're just like, damn, dude.
Well, so I'm just reading. Some of the issue was they started building, and all the amount of beavers who had been in like that area for centuries were just destroying homes, just eating the homes one by one.
Yeah, you decided to live in Idaho, okay? They claimed it, okay? This was like a Lewis and Clark.
So when I originally read this, I read they dropped a guinea pig to see if it would work, and in my head, I forget that the word guinea pig is also like they tested
test,
but I thought they were dropping literal guinea pigs. I'm like, that seems like
he did bring it up to me. He's like, they dropped guinea pigs.
The guy that means like, now listen, we tested it on guinea pigs.
Well, if you drop guinea pigs, you got to drop two because they get really, really lonely and they start self-mutilating. Okay, so
they dropped Geronimo for test, and they dropped the same beaver like 15 times.
He definitely got CTE, dude.
Because the first 10 times they were like, all right, let's just no box, because they put him in a box and then put a parachute on the box. They're like, let's just throw him out with a vest, maybe see if he lands.
He was clearly cool though. Like, they tested him again. I am, and in normal circumstances, I don't want to lose anybody that would potentially be a listener because we're a sports podcast and we're not trying to go across any lines. You know my feeling on losing PETA listeners, okay? So if you're a PETA listener, obviously boycott me and boycott Bobby. I mean, if you want them to boycott you. But what I've found is like if PETA hates you, 17 people now really, really dislike you, but everybody else loves you because even animal lovers, for the most part, know about all the trash that PETA brings. So PETA, this one's for you, okay?
But, however, good news, by doing this, they saved most of the beaver population, and they've actually increased the beaver population tenfold since the 50s.
Don't ignore that fact, PETA, because that's what you generally do. Okay. So, so obviously this is obviously a good thing. Instead of just destroying habitats and being like, having beavers go the way of the bison. Yeah. They're like, hey, let's save them, but let's do it in like a super dope way.
Yeah. And the reason it's just not coming up is so they 50 years ago, they were filming it for a special called Fur for the Future. Don't know why they thought of that name.
Yeah, no. I mean, the 50s, that was pretty
and then it got canceled, and then it got rediscovered in 2015 and was released to the public, and now they've started making T-shirts. There's a tagline that says that the beavers dropped it like it's hot to survive.
Well, and the beaver is Oregon's state animal, and so the Oregon State Beavers are... And so the Oregon State Beavers were in the College World Series a few years ago, and all their fans had this dope shirt on that said Beaver Fever.
Yeah.
And so I own one of those, obviously.
I think I remember seeing that a long time ago.
Not an Oregon State fan. Don't care about college baseball. But that shirt, though, you can sell me on a good shirt.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and jump straight into questions from the internet this week because we still haven't done our homework. We'll do it this week. No promises for X-Men. So why don't you read us a question from the internet?
Okay. And for me, super easy. But would you rather be hairless or never be able to cut your hair again?
Easy. Never cut my hair again.
Me too, dude. I get a nice little flow going.
Because you're talking about eyebrows. You're talking about, like, everywhere, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you look like you got alopecia. For
Yeah.
sure. Now, obviously, like, does this exclude, getting hair plugs and stuff and all this stuff? Get it, man.
Is that me or you?
I have no idea, but I think it's me. Yeah, it's definitely me, dude.
Not cutting that out.
Don't cut it, dude. Don't cut it. People are gonna be like, "That was awesome."
Yeah,
man."
we might get copyrighted, but
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, we didn't play 30 seconds of
Yeah.
it, and I think it was like some BS ad, so we're gonna be good. Okay, so obviously for me, you've seen me. I first of all hate getting a haircut anyway. So if you could literally tell me I never had to,
that's wild, dude. So
because-
like, I love like the process of getting a haircut. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
I
so
hate it.
you just feel like a new person. Now, like when I was going my
I
hair out
like
for a
who
while.
I am as a person anyway, Bobby. So I don't want to feel like a new person. I like feeling like me. No, and look, don't get me wrong. I don't hate the process of having a new haircut. I hate the process of getting a haircut. Just like going, and it's mostly why I started growing a beard, because I hate shaving. Like
Yeah,
I'm one of those guys that I like my time to be fake productive in my mind.
Yeah.
Like I want to be drinking some beer with some
it
friends.
sounds
and
like you
stuff.
needed a new barbershop. You should need to go
I
see my
don't
boy.
barber shop
Yeah,
it.
you need to go see my boy Tim at Next Gen. Free
Yeah.
plug.
Yeah, yeah. Was he out your way?
He's in Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
So you get off
Maybe.
work, yeah, yourself a hair.
Maybe. I might go see Kyle, though, Jen's
Yeah.
boyfriend. I talked to him, and he hit me with the best barbershop line, too. I was like, hey, man, you cut good hair? And he's like, yeah, I cut all sorts of hair. I was like, boom, that was good.
That's
and so,
solid.
like, a good barber joke goes a long way for me. But it's mostly just because, like, and I think it's because I got such weird, thick hair that some people just don't know how to cut it. But Kyle seemed like he knew what was up with it. So maybe, but again, I get that flow going, dude. I
Yeah.
get told, I've got a lot of different people that I've heard I look like when I get the long hair going. Jesus, Rick Grimes, I got. But yeah, I mean,
That sounds like a TV show. Jesus and Rick Grimes.
yeah, that's gonna be a late night show. Conan O'Brien's gonna bring him in. But yeah, no, I mean, especially if I like didn't have to get a haircut or I couldn't get a haircut, then I could just be like, people are like, you need a haircut. Be like, did you not hear about the question from the internet, Linda? Like.
Listen,
what the
Linda.
hell, buddy? Like, you're not a podcast listener? Come on. But yeah, I mean, obviously, especially us two, we look okay with longer hair and beards,
Yeah.
Some people, this would be probably a little different for.
Yeah. Bruce Willis,
Right, dude.
Yeah.
If Bruce Willis started getting woolly bully, you'd be like, come on,
Yeah.
Bruce. Come on, B-dub.
But all right, so let's move into this or that.
This or that.
Live one life that lasts 1,000 years, or live 10 lives that last 100 years each.
Question, do you... I got a lot of questions, actually. Does the 1,000 years, are you like kind of like gridlocked at like a certain period, or do
Yeah.
you like get elderly?
You get to choose an age, and maybe like, or maybe like you age so like relative to the 1,000 years. So maybe
Sure.
when you're
Sure.
at 999 years, you're an old man.
Okay, so there's like a percentage gap.
yeah.
Like, okay, so I mean, if the average lifespan is 74, essentially, what is it?
But for the mid like 400,
100 years, you're essentially like 7, though.
do we want to
That
say
seems
that
bad.
you pick that like you pick a year?
If you pick the age, I think it's pretty easy
Yeah.
for me, So I think, okay, so let's say for the purposes of our discussion to make it an actual question, you age normally,
Relative to 1,000 years.
yes, but see, in that case, then 100 years, you would only like be like 7.4 years old.
Yeah.
If my math is correct, and please don't correct me on my math. But let's say like, that's tough, 1,000 years. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could just say you like hit your peak of your life, and then like that's how old you are forever. You know, so that way you get to like age up to like 30 or something or whatever you consider the peak of your life.
Like,
tough.
The 200s, the 350s would be like the peak, I assume.
Yeah, I would say, well, yeah, I mean, the actual peak of the 1,000-year life. But I would say, I mean, it's hard to argue with like 30 to 35, where you're like still kind of young, but you got a little bit more money for your life. Oh, that's so tough because you also on the 10 lives and live 100 years. Do you know which life you're on?
Let's say you start off. Do we want to say you start off with a clean memory each time?
Oh, okay. If you do that, then it's easy. 1,000 years. 1,000 years, dude. But if I know that I get to like give different attempts at life.
All right. So you get different attempts and you get to choose, like you get to create a character each time.
Okay. Yeah. No, obviously that would be, like, that would make it.
Maybe this life I want to be like.
You get to kind of pick like the type of person you are. Like, you get a certain amount of character points, obviously. You don't just get to like
max out. This isn't Madden. You don't get to 99 down the board.
Right. You can learn skills and stuff throughout your 100 years. I mean, I'm about to be 29, dude. And I thoroughly enjoy my life. I think that everybody knows that. There's always those few things that you like, oh, well, what if I like really tried hard doing this when I was younger? Where would my life be type of stuff? Yeah, I think I could take a couple of those and like actually give it a real go at being something.
Yeah, when I first read this, I thought it was going to be easy. But now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, you spend 1,000 years knowing that it's going to end at one point, and like for 300 years you fear death.
Well, not only that, but I mean, what really kind of makes the life worth living is all the folks that are around you and stuff. So like you're literally going to see all your friends die and you're going to make new friends and stuff. Now, wouldn't be hard. You could just be like, bro, I'm 400. How dope is that? Like, obviously we're going to make friends, but like we would have to experience a lot of death of people that we knew and loved. I think I got to go with the 10 lives that are 100 years.
I think I talked myself. I think we talked each other into that because when I came in, it's like, oh, this is easy. Then I'm like, oh, maybe not so much.
It was the changing of like actually knowing that you're like got another life coming, type of deal. So
and
like
the
you
creative
could really
character
blow
thing
it out.
definitely changes it too.
One, you'd get a new group of folks, you know, each time, and like. I just really hope that I'm not a Blackhawks fan in one of these lives.
I thought that was going somewhere else when you first started that.
Yeah, other people maybe, but like me, like I really, really just don't want to be a Blackhawks fan. You know, like live in Chicago, maybe, but be a Blackhawks fan? No, I don't want that. I don't want that for anybody.
You realize, like you're born, then you realize, shit, I was born in Detroit. I'm getting raised in Detroit.
Ooh. I could be a Tigers fan, you know, and I mean, the Malice at the Palace. Obviously, the Pistons are dope. Yeah, no, I think that upon initially reading, the 1,000-year life is awesome, but like, you know, like I guess you continuously get to live those 1,000 years with 10 lives at 100. Like, I feel like 100's a good stopping point. Like, I'm done. Like, I want to start a new game. Yeah. So I think that we came in thinking 1,000 years, live 1,000 years, but I think we kind of ended up at 10 lives for 100 years. So
So now let's move into what are you binging? I've been watching a lot. I'm about to finish season 1 of Legends of Tomorrow.
So dope
ass show, man.
So good. Better than any. As much as I love The Flash and all the storylines in The Flash, dude, I think Legends of Tomorrow is the best of the group.
It's gotten better than Arrow. Hasn't gotten better than Flash yet.
Yeah, it will.
I'm just at where Flash is about to fight Zoom. In Flash.
I love Zoom, dude.
Yeah, Zoom is dope.
Yeah, Zoom is dope.
I think there is a villain I'm waiting for him to fight.
Hello, Flash.
And that's I think Savitar from the.
Savitar.
I know him from the comics.
To be fair, the villain portion of all the Flash seasons are so dope that it's hard to beat it because of like how they all like correspond and like come up to the end. But like as a storytelling ability, and like you're just about to finish season 1
of Legends.
Yeah. So like It's super good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, but I feel like it's one of the weaker seasons of
Season
Legends.
1?
Yeah, because it takes so much to build up this story and to get the full team together.
I'm waiting for them to bring Reverse Flash into Legends at some point because, like, he's a major part of the future, and they just ignored him through the first season.
Oh, did they?
But
anyway,
yeah, super excited for Gorilla Grodd. I tried watching a little bit of Supergirl, and I was like, I'm just not digging it.
Supergirl is really weak in the beginning too, and it gets a little better.
Now I have a thing that says like you should watch this episode with this, and so like with the finest crossover where like
you gotta watch
Barry went to Earth 2 by accident. I went ahead and just jumped to episode 18 of Supergirl to watch that episode.
Yeah, and you can do that with these shows because while they tie together, they are loose 45-minute episodes where you could watch an episode, and unless it's like a pretty pivotal point in the season, you're not missing a lot. And especially those crossover episodes, because like, you're gonna miss a few things here and there. Supergirl starts really weak, but it actually got pretty strong by the time I'm not caught up or anything, but I was on like season 2 or 3, and it becomes, as long as you can suspend your disbelief of like all superhero movies or shows, Supergirl gets pretty good. John Jones, Jimmy Olsen, like the characters that are in it become.
I wish they would bring GL at some point into the story. Green Lantern.
Yeah, I not in anything that I had seen through the Arrowverse shows. Mine, I haven't been watching many new things other than what I've talked about the past few weeks. So, had to bring up one of the, because I literally watch it every single night of my life. Forensic Files, dude.
Yeah.
And I heard the 2.0 isn't bad, but it's no freaking Peter Thomas, dude. And Rip, bro, the best narrator I've ever heard. Like, he could narrate anything. He's better than Morgan Freeman to me. I've never had somebody get me so interested in a crime that I could care less about. And the problem is when you tell people you're a Forensic Files sleeper, because that's what I consider myself. I'll throw it on before I go to bed and just let him put me to sleep. Jim was next door to his next door neighbor, and he had a bunch of gasoline and matches on his floor when the police came in. Was he the one that burnt up his neighbor? Just like, you're just like, yeah, probably, but like, I don't know. And so everybody, every single time, because I'll even, if I'm not like at home or something to watch Forensic Files, I'll just go listen to it on the podcast, because that is literally all I care about, is just listening to Peter Thomas tell me about Jim catching his neighbor on fire. They'll always try to sell me on some true crime podcast or something. Oh, you should listen to this. You should listen to this. And it's like some actual stuff about actual crimes, dude. Like, I need a 23-minute. This is what happened. This is where we went. This is what we did. This is the killer. Boom. 23 minutes. I don't want to listen to some hour-long thing about an actual crime. I just want Peter Thomas to tell me real quick in a quick synopsis of how they did it, Yeah. So that's more my thing. Forensic Files, forever and always.
Yeah. So I've been drinking. I drank a couple at the party, and that is Tailgate's Imperial Peanut Butter and Jelly Stout.
Yeah,
it was a solid beer.
It was okay to me. It was more sweet than I like. It was very heavy on the jelly, less on the peanut butter.
Yeah.
I went with the other beer that we were drinking at your party, the Imperial Peanut Butter Milk Stout. Because if you like the peanut butter milk stout, then who doesn't want 4% more alcohol in it? That was the difference.
I think I gave it to you and you're like, this is good. I was like, oh yeah, it's 10%. And you're all like, oh.
I wasn't like, oh. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, so the Imperial Peanut Butter Milk Stout, super good. The peanut butter and PB&J wasn't bad, but it wasn't my cup of tea necessarily.
But all right, guys, it's time to find out what's snapping our stick. Why don't you start us off with your sports one?
Baseball's 7th inning stretch. if you have to have a stretching period during your game, your sport is too long, okay? And for all of those that are going to be super ticked at me, oh, no, that's when they play Sweet Caroline. Again, it's baseball. You can play Sweet Caroline any inning. And so,
You probably have enough time between pitches to play the whole song.
You could play, you could get a whole Neil Diamond concert set up. If Nomar Garciaparra is at the plate, in between his pitches, you could do Neil Diamond songs each time. So, baseball 7th inning stretch. If you have to have an inning to stretch, then you have gone too long for your game. So, especially since all of baseball is a stretch. Like, you can just stretch through that the whole time. Like, that's my stick, dude. I mean, but you know my feeling on length of baseball games.
Oh, yeah. So mine is, I call it Screamer Without a Cause. This is usually at hockey games.
I feel like you're coming at me, bro.
Like, listen, I am all for screaming and hollering when it's called for at hockey games.
Absolutely.
But just middle of like 12 minutes left in the second and there's nothing going on and you just hear...
There's 12 minutes left!
Yeah, and you just hear random dude just yelling for no reason. It's like, dude, come on.
And it's
time and place.
And I want to hit you with this because I feel like we have the same thing. It's not just randomly screaming, because that can be super funny in the right context. It's continuously randomly screaming about stuff for no reason. Shoot it! And I think that kind of plays onto your shoot it guy. But the screamer that just needs to scream. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a good one.
Or like the ref hasn't called a penalty in like 5 minutes and he's still just heckling the ref.
Yeah.
For, like, dude, we get it. We get, like, refs aren't great. But
there's appropriate heckles, you know. A good toss out a comment when it's quiet can always land if you hit it right. That's my specialty at a game.
Oh yeah,
you know
I love doing. I had one, and I had in college at Austin P. I would do that at basketball games right before he shot the free throw.
Exactly,
and they were a little inappropriate. Can't say them on the pod, but they were dope.
My favorite was your mom doesn't love you. You know, because like while it's you don't have to bleep it or anything. That dude is going to be very upset about that, you know, and to the refs, like, it's more when it gets quiet. I want to tell them, hope you know, this is why your mom doesn't want you home for Thanksgiving, you know? And
I hope you have a lot of traffic on the way home.
Exactly. Like, I just like to hit them with like some regular stuff that's like really going to ruin your day. Like, I hope your socks are wet in your skates, you know, like that's going to ruin that guy's day, but like not kill him or anything. Yeah, that's a great one. So mine, I don't know if it's too serious, but some people would probably find it serious and offensive. People that think it's illegal for you to film or take pictures of them in public. Like, you can't take my picture without my consent. It's like, Karen, you just walked through the entire mall where literally every store has cameras and stuff. And like now that you've started berating a little kid, you don't think I'm able to film you anymore. And my favorite is their comeback. It's like, well, now I'm going to film you. Like, yeah, okay. You're allowed to do that. Like if you don't want people to know the ridiculous things that you're doing, then I probably would not do it in public. Yeah. Okay. You know, like this is a mall. All right. This is a street corner. So it's more of the fact that, you know, you can not like people filming you or taking pictures of you, but as soon as you throw out that, you know, you don't have my permission to film me.
Like, good, I didn't ask.
Like, look, I can literally walk behind you at the mall today and film you just doing whatever because, you know, this is America, buddy. You know, that's a little thing called the First Amendment. So it kind of ties into one I did a few weeks ago.
So I'm really doing types of people this week because my next one is the dude at a party who whips out a guitar and starts singing.
I thought you were going to say whips out something else.
Well, no, listen, I'm that guy. But no, so the guy, and he's always got like here's my own song, or it's always want to hear Wonderwall. Like,
yeah, Wonderwall is the hit. I mean, there's only really one way to handle it. And I mean,
it's Animal House style.
Animal House taught us well. Okay. Jim Belushi showed us how we handle this. Can I see that? Boom, 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 just right against the wall. Yeah. And I mean, now let me hit you with this. the dude at a regular party that busts out the guitar. What are you doing, bro? It's almost a requirement at a bonfire party, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
There's obvious exceptions, but here's the thing, you got to be
exception.
good, though, to do it. Like,
sure, and you can't play Wonderwall. And even if it's requested, you have to be very hesitant to play it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, not that we ever went to many parties where guys busted out guitars, but, like, we can imagine how annoying that would be.
Yeah. Because usually I don't put myself into those situations to begin with.
Situationally, it snaps your stick if you were to come across it.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing this for 22 episodes now. I think we're almost exhausted. Things we complain of. Almost.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, we have and we haven't. Because, like, we're always... The problem is we think of things all day, every week of our life, and we don't write them down is the real problem.
I mean, just on the way here, I thought of a couple because I was on call with customer service. So I'm
customer service, always bad.
Yeah, and there's like 4 different things you could talk about with customer service phone lines. Yeah.
Well, better jot that down on the brainstorming doc, man.
But all right, guys, it's time to wrap it up. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Pucks Out Podcast. To see what other ridiculousness the guys are up to, check them out on Twitter and Instagram @PucksOutPod.